30th November 1939, Karelian Isthmus. The official story is simple. A farmer picks up a rifle and becomes the Red Army's worst nightmare. But that's not where this story ends. That's where the questions begin. He didn't use a scope. He didn't chase glory. 3 choices turned him lethal: iron sights, ruthless fieldcraft, and process. The Winter War had begun. Soviet columns, overwhelming numbers, forests and swamps frozen hard, daylight like glass, air at -20. We're stripping the myth, keeping the evidence. And yes, you'll see why no scope helped him, how he hid his breath, and why Soviet logistics couldn't solve him. Methodology and sources, what we're using and what we're not. Here's the ground rule: we stay with what can be traced. Post-war Finnish interviews with Simo Häyhä, Finnish Army records that note, confirmed kills day by day, and contemporary officer accounts from the front. That's our evidence base. What we're not doing: late sensational memoirs, inflated totals without paperwork, or second-hand retellings that grew in the decades after. The time frame is tight, roughly 100 days of frontline action. Confirmed versus probable matters because the fog of war creates duplicates. We'll name tools he actually used: a Mosin Nagant M2830 with iron sights, standard ammunition, white winter smocks. We're testing tactics against real constraints: light, cold, and logistics. Here's the first strange thing about that no-scope claim. Decision 1. Iron sights. Over scope, optics. Freeze. Eyes don't. Why do optics matter when it's 20 below? Because glass lies in the cold. Scopes fog from your breath. Moisture freezes into a film. Lenses catch glare off snow. In low winter sun, a single flash is a death sentence. Targets blend into white and pine. Contrast is minimal. Tiny errors get loud. Häyhä chose iron sights. Lower profile, faster to shoulder, fewer reflections, nothing to fog. He pressed face to stock, not to glass. In real-world use, that meant less signature and more shots without giving up his position. It wasn't nostalgia. It was survival. Breath control becomes a weapon in this weather. Exhale onto cold metal, and you build frost. Through a scope, that frost is magnified. Your field of view pulses and clouds with every breath. With irons, the sight picture is simpler. He could shoot between controlled breaths, keep his cheek weld steady, and avoid the lens acting like a billboard. Then there's the light. Karelia's winter turns noon into a sideways beam. Scopes create glint, tiny, deadly mirrors. Irons cut, glint. A micro-story from the front. A Soviet counter-sniper posts up at the tree line. Low sun, one bright wink of the scope hood, one shot, silence. The official story could call that luck. The evidence points to physics and discipline. Ballistics at -20 shift, 2. Powder burns slower. Muzzle velocity drops. Trajectories arc a bit more. What does that mean? Closer, deliberate shots favored over long, speculative ones. Irons excel inside those ranges, clean, repeatable, less gear to manage with numb fingers. Compared to Soviet PU scopes, excellent on temperate fronts, failure rates rose in deep cold. Oil thickened, focus rings stiffened, wiped lenses smeared and refroze. A good scope is a precision instrument. In Karelia, precision instruments become liabilities if you can't keep them warm and dry. Verdict: iron sights weren't primitive. They were the right tool for that winter. Fewer variables, less signature, more survivability. If the rifle choice made him invisible, the ground made him untouchable. And that brings us to what he did, to vanish in plain sight. Decision 2. Fieldcraft, snow discipline, and the vanishing shooter. Concealment wins, fight you never have to take. The Red Army advanced in mass. Any muzzle flash invited mortars and artillery. So, he built positions that erased cause and effect. Snow, packin' first. Loose snow blooms. When a rifle cracks, little geysers that betray you. He tamped the snow hard in front of the muzzle to absorb blast and suppress signature. He carved a snow shelf for the rifle, stable and quiet. The shot became a muted thud in the trees. Breath masking mattered. At -20, your lungs paint the air. He pushed snow in front of his lips to diffuse vapor, then fired between controlled breaths. No plume, no tell. Okay, this surprised me. The first time I saw it in interviews, your breath can be as loud as sound in winter. Camouflage went beyond a white smock, face covered, metal dulled with soot or cloth wrap to kill black shine. He checked fabric for frost glitter, those tiny crystals that sparkle under a low sun. Anything that caught light was a liability. Compared to Soviet line troops in dark wool, he turned into negative space. Firing lanes weren't accidents. He trimmed branches ahead of time, pre-ranged landmarks, and memorized distances in paces. Stump, 120, rock, 180. That way, no scope, no guessing, just holdovers he already knew. Positioning stayed low behind snow berms, with backstops to catch over penetration. He built egress routes before he fired. 2 paths, never the obvious one. After 2 shots, he moved, never a third from the same spot. He froze when the forest creaked. That's not superstition. Wood talks in the cold. You move when the trees move. Here's a micro-story that captures the method. A Soviet patrol follows fresh prints along a wind-scoured drift. The tracks end abruptly. They spread to search. He's beneath the drift, body heat muffled by snow, rifle on the shelf, breath masked. 1 shot. A leader falls. The rest go prone, scanning a tree line that isn't the threat. He's already backing out along the pre-cut egress, leaving decoy impressions to nowhere. Sound discipline sealed the trap. He worked the bolt under cloth, cartridges warmed in a mitten, so the propellant snap didn't spike. Metal on metal is louder in cold air. He wrapped contact points. It reads obsessive. It kept him alive. The competition, Soviet doctrine, emphasized advance and volume. He treated each trigger pull as a trap, not a statement. Dwell time shrank. Risk shrank with it. Verdict. Fieldcraft created time. Time turned accuracy into attrition. The man became a map of kills. And now, the large machine around him and why it fed his process instead of stopping it. Strategic context. 2 minutes on Soviet logistics and Finnish advantage. The official story says, numbers win wars. In Karelia, numbers froze to death. Logistics turns a rifleman's plan into reality, or strips it bare. Hungry men move predictably. Cold men huddle where they shouldn't. That's a sniper's calendar. Soviet supply lines dragged across poor roads that vanished under snow. Trucks stalled. Fuel ran thin. Winter gear was uneven. Felt boots for some, thin wool for many. Conscripts, fresh from the interior, met forests that swallowed squads whole. Terrain fixed movement to narrow roads, punch through pines and swamp. Those roads became kill corridors. Skis versus boots, wasn't sport, it was tempo. Finnish ski troops could appear, strike and fade, while Soviet columns bunched and halted. Now let me tell you about Motti tactics. The Finns cut long columns into pockets, then harassed each pocket until food, warmth and nerve ran out. Fragmented units had to cross open breaks in daylight to reconnect. That's exposure. That's where a patient rifle turns time into damage. Artillery lagged behind. Ammunition and observers couldn't keep pace with the advance. Counter battery was slow. Reconnaissance was thin and jittery. When a shot cracked from the tree line, the response was often late or blind, and the wrong clump of trees got shelled. Here's the first strange thing. The more the machine jammed, the more predictable the fixes became. A broken truck in a choke point. Men crowd to push. One shot at the man shouting orders and everything locks. Compared to centralized orders, Finnish small unit initiative moved faster. Verdict: the machine fed him targets. He harvested the jams. Decision 3, countering the counters. Surviving the Soviet hunt. But the ghost drew attention. Once a sniper becomes a symbol, countermeasures pile up. Counter snipers, mortars, sweeping patrols with dogs. The official story says he was lucky. The evidence shows a process that denied patterns. He shortened exposure windows to seconds, never lingered in a sight line. Positions varied by angle, height, and backstop. Egress paths were staggered and pre-walked, with branches brushed to blur prints. He never gifted the second shell. Dogs complicate myths. Scent moves like water in wind. He set hides upwind, layered frozen clothing to mute odor, and kept cold camp discipline. No food scraps, no warm leaks. If the wind shifted, he shifted with it. Mortars, he treated them like timers. Fire, count, move. Pre-dug scrapes took his body low. Snow blocks stacked behind the hide caught shrapnel. He listened for bracketing, left, right, center, and was already offset before the pattern closed. Decoys added noise. He laid empty tracks to false firing lanes, then built the real hide 10 meters off, rifle on that tamped shelf. Spent brass went warm into the snow, so no glare betrayed him. A micro story, a mortar walk-in, 3 shells stepping toward the last sound. Dust plumes bloom. He's 60 meters left, flat as a shadow, watching the correction arrive where he isn't. Many snipers duel. He hunted objectives, leaders, NCOs, machine gun crews, because breaking control multiplies fear. The wound came anyway. An explosive round shattered his jaw. The ghost bled. The legend was mortal. Verdict: survival was method. Deny scent, deny rhythm, deny the second shell. Numbers, claims, and what we can prove. The 500 in 100 days claim anchors the legend. Finnish frontline records list. High confirmed kills. Daily tallies exist, but not every engagement was witnessed. Post-war interviews align on iron sights and fieldcraft, not theatrics. Fog of war adds duplicates when multiple rifles fire. Propaganda wrapped both sides. Compared to other snipers in similar conditions, his pace is an outlier, but the environment and methods explain acceleration. The evidence is circumstantial, but consistent. Craft and context drove results more than any single number. Who this story is for and what it teaches. If you study tactics, it's a lesson in low-tech beating assumptions. If you study history, it's terrain and logistics magnifying one man's reach. If you lead, it's process under pressure outlasting talent. If you're skeptical, it's how to strip myth, test claims, keep what works. If you're hunting miracles, look closer. This is craft. Conclusion, final verdict, plus CTA. Final verdict, skill plus disciplined process inside an enemy's broken logistics turned a quiet soldier lethal without a scope. If this made you rethink high-tech defaults, subscribe. Watch the breakdown on Motti tactics and the Mosin M2830 to see the system around the man. Drop a comment, iron sights or scope at -20. We may never know, but you should decide now.